Hey guys, this is going to be my labor and delivery story for Emrys. Kaiden was born at 39 weeks via induction with Pitocin, and Asher was born at 39 weeks and 5 days via induction. But Emrys, I was not induced. So on my 38-week appointment, I did not expect anything as far as being close to being in labor. I was having some mild contractions when I went in for my appointment, and I didn't really think anything of it because throughout my last month or 2 months, I always have contractions nonstop, and I do dilate. With Kaiden, I was dilated to a 6, and I was induced at 39 weeks and 0 days. And with Asher, I was at a 4 or a 5 when I was induced at 39 weeks and 5 days. So with that information, I went into my 38-week appointment thinking I would still be at a 1, like I was my previous appointment, which was a week prior. I went in and she checked me, and I was at 4 centimeters, so I went from 1 to 4 in a week. And I was only 20-30% effaced, something like that. She decided to strip my membranes because she thought I was in labor. In the room, I started having painful contractions. They weren't too painful, but they were really uncomfortable. My blood pressure was a little bit high. So they told me at that point to just go to the hospital, get checked out, and see what happened. I went to the hospital. They checked me, and I was at a 4 to 5 when I went in there. About 2 hours later, I was at a 5. And I had some bleeding, which is probably honestly from the sweep that she did. After 2 hours of being there, they asked me if I wanted to have my water broken or if I just wanted to go home, because I wasn't progressing fast enough. I said I just wanted to go home. I hadn't eaten dinner yet. I was like, I am not having a baby right now. I'm gonna go home and eat some nice dinner and just wait for this baby to come. And went home, stopped at McDonald's and ate McDonald's. At 38 weeks and 4 days, it was nighttime, and I was monitoring my contractions through an app on my phone to figure out how close they were, and they were about 3 to 5 minutes apart. So I decided it was probably time to go to the hospital and get checked out and see what was going on, because I was already at a 5 from what I knew at that point. We got to the hospital, got checked in. My contractions were not painful. They were just close together. So back to me, I was 6 centimeters dilated and about 60% effaced, and my bags were bulging. And so they said, well, you're 6 centimeters, we have to keep you in. We'll monitor you throughout the night, and then in the morning, you can decide whether you want your water broken or see if your water breaks on its own throughout the night because the bag was bulging. You don't have the choice to go home because at 6 centimeters, they have to keep you in. Called my doula at that point because I was freaking out. I was not ready to be in labor, and I don't think you ever are, but I was so terrified. Throughout the night, my contractions didn't get any stronger or closer together or anything, but they were consistent, about 5 minutes apart, and they were not painful at all. We walked around the hospital that night to try and get it going on its own. By that point, I was kind of running out of energy because I wasn't allowed to eat any real food because of my hemorrhaging in the past. With both my labors before, I hemorrhaged. My contractions kind of picked up a little, but they didn't get painful. I would have 30 minutes off the monitor and an hour on the monitor, which was horrible. I hate monitors. I took a bath that night to kind of calm my nerves because I was freaking out, and I was like, if this goes on for much longer, I'm not going to have the energy to push this baby out. They only checked me twice through the night, and I hadn't progressed any. So they just said, try and get some sleep, and your doctor's going to come in the morning and we can figure out what we're going to do then. Over the night, I decided that I was going to have my doctor break my water because if I kept going that way, I would run out of steam. It was around 9 a.m. in the morning when my OB came in, and she asked me what I wanted to do, and I said, I'm gonna go ahead and have you break my water. She checked with her hand over his head to make sure that the cord was not on his head, obviously. And so she took the little needle, it's like a sewing needle, it looks pretty creepy, and she put it up there and kind of scraped the bag of waters, and I felt it kind of gush out. I've heard a lot of people ask, what does your water breaking feel like? It feels like, it doesn't even feel like you peed yourself. Like it does, because it's not like cold water like you would imagine. It's really warm water that just gushes out or trickles out weirdly. It's uncontrollable. She kept her hand up there while my water was coming out to make sure that the cord did not go in front of his head. And it didn't. She removed her hand and said, everything looks perfect. Your baby is ready to go. By noon today, I think you'll see your baby. So contractions immediately got stronger, but they weren't painful. I decided that at that point I was going to get in the bath because I wasn't in pain, and I remembered with my labor with Asher, I did get in the bath and it calmed my muscles and my nerves. And so I hopped in the bath and I sat in there for about 30 minutes. They weren't horrible. They were just pretty consistent. I was able to talk through them and laugh and joke around. They asked me to get out of the tub so I could be monitored because it was still the same 30 minutes off the monitor, an hour on the monitor. So I went to the bed to go get monitored, get hooked up to all this junk. I decided that I would rather sit on the hospital bed than lay down because when I lay down, the contractions are 10 times stronger and it's horrible. So I sat on the bed for an hour, and during that hour it went from not painful to starting to pick up the pace a little bit. And mind you, I started at 6 centimeters, so this is not like a typical birth. I just jump started into transition stage, basically. Starting to get painful. I had to breathe through them, and my doula at this stage was the best thing that ever happened to me. With my other 2 labors, when I got to this stage, I started freaking out and tensing my whole body and like, oh my god, I'm having a contraction, what am I going to do? And breathing fast and everything, and that does not work. For me, I don't get an epidural or anything. My doula told me to not tense up, to just relax every muscle in my body, my fingers, my eyebrows, everything. I had to completely just zone out and relax every muscle in my body, and that's all I could focus on, was just relaxing every muscle in my body. And you know what, guys? It worked. It really worked. I did not think it was. I thought she was crazy. But if I relaxed every muscle in my body and that's all I focused on, I did not feel pain. If you guys are going to do an unmedicated childbirth, I would definitely try that because it really does work. But it does not work the entire time. That stage lasted about 20 minutes. They wanted me to lay back on the bed because Emrys was not staying on the monitor. They couldn't hear his heartbeat. So I laid back in the bed, and immediately my contractions got horrible. By that point, the pain got so intense that I started rocking my head back and forth. By this point, the pain was starting to get the best of me, and I was realizing that it's pretty much time. I heard the nurse off to the side say, we should probably check her about now, we can tell she's starting to be in pain. They said she's probably about a 7 or an 8, so they wanted to lower my bed, and I was having contraction upon contraction upon contractions. Every time they would try to move my bed back, a contraction would start, and I'd be like, no, don't move me, I swear, do not move me. So they tried to move me down 3 separate times to get me to where I needed to be. The nurse stuck her hand up there, checked, and she was like, oh my gosh, we need to call the doctor. By that point, I was 9.5-ish, 9.5, 10-ish. I had just a little lip and she said, the baby's gonna come out in like the next couple minutes. And I was like, what? She left the room saying she needed to they needed to prep the room. I was having a baby and she was gonna call my doctor right away. So by that point, everything started going crazy. There were 20 million people coming into my room, prepping this room, getting everything ready, turning on the lights for the baby. My doctor came in about 15 minutes later. Everyone was trying to comfort me, but I was freaking out. By this point, I realized that I was going to be pushing a baby out in the next few minutes, and I was scared because I had been through 2 unmedicated births before, and it's painful. And I remembered that pain in the moment. And I was like, I know exactly what's about to happen, and I am scared to death. I don't want to be in that kind of pain. What I didn't realize was it would probably feel better than trying to hold the baby in. But I wasn't thinking rationally at this point. My doctor started putting on her plastic clothes and asked me if I was ready to have a baby, and I said no. And everybody's trying to comfort me. It's gonna be okay, you're gonna meet your baby soon, you know, all this stuff, which would be great if I was in my right mind, but I was not. I was freaking out, guys. I was so scared. I decided that while my doctor was getting her clothes on, her little plastic attire, relax. Instead of hold him in, to just relax my body, not try to push, not try to hold him in, just let nature do what it's supposed to do. And so I just relaxed everything, and it felt nice. It felt really good. But I could feel him starting to come out, so I clenched together and I was like, nope, I gotta wait till the doctor gets done. They kept trying to move my bed down to get me in the position to give birth, and I kept saying, no, stop, 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 and they finally were just like, we're gonna have to just do this, honey, because your baby is ready right now, and we've got to get you giving birth. And so they just moved my bed down really fast and put my feet in the stirrups and got everything all set up underneath me. And my doctor looked and said, your baby's crowning. You just need to push 1 time, 2 times, a couple times, and he'll be out. I was still saying, no, I don't want to have a baby yet. I'm not ready. I'm scared. Eventually, I just said fine. I gave 1 big push, and his head came out, and then his shoulders, and then his butt got stuck, and she kind of helped it come out. And within a few seconds, he was born. 1 push, and he was there. I got skin-to-skin time for an hour, and then they weighed him, and he weighed 7 pounds, 7 ounces, and 18.5 inches long. All his APGAR scores were at 9, so everything went well. The funniest part of the whole thing was right when he was born, the first thing that I said was, oh my god, I had a baby. And everybody in the whole room laughed. They thought it was pretty funny because that's kind of the point of the whole thing. But up until then, I hadn't realized that I was actually pregnant and having a baby. It didn't ever click with. I hope you guys like this video. If you do, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. I'll see you guys later. Bye.